There is something in your refrigerator right now that you are almost certainly proud of. You bought it deliberately. You chose it over the less healthy option. You have probably been eating it for years, maybe decades, because every doctor, every magazine, every well-meaning friend told you it was good for your heart. And if you are over 70, that choice matters more than ever, because your heart at 70 is not the same organ it was at 45. The way it processes nutrients, the way it responds to inflammation, the way it handles certain fats and sugars and proteins, everything has shifted in ways that most general dietary advice has simply never accounted for. What I am about to share with you is not a fringe theory. It is not something I stumbled across on the internet at 2 a.m. It is the result of decades of clinical experience watching patients do everything right. Everything their cardiologist told them, everything the labels on their food said, everything the conventional wisdom endorsed, and still watching their hearts struggle. 4 specific foods. Foods that carry the heart-healthy label. Foods that people over 70 eat with complete confidence. Foods that for people at that age and stage of life may be doing far more harm than good. By the time you finish watching this, you will understand exactly why and what to eat instead. Now, let me be honest with you about something that most conversations around heart health completely skip over. The guidance that most people are following, the advice printed on cereal boxes, echoed in waiting rooms, and passed down at family dinners, was largely built on research conducted on middle-aged adults, not on people in their 70s. Not on people whose arterial walls have changed, whose kidney function has shifted, whose gut microbiome has evolved over 7 decades of living. And yet that same guidance is handed to 70-year-olds as if biology stops changing the moment you turn 50. It does not. There is a profound difference between what is heart healthy at 40 and what is genuinely heart healthy at 70, and failing to understand that difference is not just a minor oversight. For some people, it has been a genuinely dangerous one. The cardiovascular system at 70 is dealing with a completely different set of challenges. Reduced arterial elasticity, altered cholesterol metabolism, higher baseline inflammation, and a liver that processes dietary inputs more slowly and less efficiently than it once did. This is the context that nobody gives you when they hand you a pamphlet about eating more whole grains and cutting out red meat. Context in medicine is everything. And the first food on this list is one that almost every cardiologist in the country still recommends without hesitation. Margarine and plant-based spreads labeled as heart healthy have been a fixture of cardiac care recommendations for the better part of 40 years. The logic always seemed reasonable. Replace saturated fat with unsaturated fat, lower LDL cholesterol, protect the heart. But here is where things take a turn most people never see coming. For people over 70, the problem is not just about the type of fat. It is about something far more insidious that often rides along with it. Many of these spreads, particularly the older formulations, and many still widely sold today, contain industrial seed oils processed at extremely high temperatures. When your body, at 70, attempts to metabolize these oxidized fats, the process triggers a cascade of inflammatory signaling that aging arteries are poorly equipped to handle. Think of your arterial walls at 70 like an older garden hose, still functional but less flexible, slightly brittle in places, with microscopic vulnerabilities that a younger hose would simply absorb. Inflammatory compounds from oxidized oils do not slide past those vulnerabilities. They catch on them. Research comparing inflammatory markers in older adults who consume processed seed oil-based spreads versus those who consume traditional fats like olive oil or even small amounts of real butter consistently shows measurably higher arterial inflammation in the spread group. That is not a headline designed to scare you. That is a biological reality that the heart healthy label was never designed to account for. I will come back to what to eat instead, and the answer is probably simpler and more satisfying than you expect. The second food is one that sits in millions of kitchen cabinets in a brightly colored canister, and it is one that people in their 70s often eat every single morning with a sense of genuine virtue. Instant oatmeal, particularly the flavored, prepackaged varieties, occupies a nearly sacred place in the heart-healthy food canon. And there is a real reason for that. Whole oats contain beta-glucan, a soluble fiber with genuinely well-documented cholesterol-lowering properties. That part is not a myth. But here is a question I want you to honestly answer in your own mind. Are you eating plain, steel-cut oats with nothing added? Or are you tearing open a pouch, adding hot water, and sitting down to something that tastes like brown sugar and maple syrup because that is exactly what it contains? The flavored instant oatmeal market is built on the oat's pristine reputation, while delivering a product that, per serving, can contain more added sugar than several varieties of breakfast cereal. For a 70-year-old whose pancreatic insulin response has naturally slowed, whose liver is less efficient at processing blood sugar spikes, and whose cardiovascular system is directly harmed by glycemic variability, that sugar load is not a minor issue. A few years ago, researchers began examining the relationship between glycemic spikes and arterial stiffness in adults over 65. And what they found reframed the entire breakfast conversation. Each significant blood sugar surge contributes to a process called glycation, essentially sugar molecules binding to proteins in the arterial walls and making them stiffer and more vulnerable. Every morning, compounded over years. The oat is innocent. What has been done to it is not. Now, the third food on this list requires me to slow down, because the backlash I expect here is the loudest. For decades, the medical community believed that dietary fat was the primary enemy of heart health. And out of that belief grew the gospel of low-fat and fat-free foods. Low-fat yogurt, fat-free salad dressing, reduced-fat peanut butter. If someone you love is over 70 and still reaching for the fat-free version of things at the grocery store, please keep reading. When food manufacturers remove fat from a product, they face an immediate problem. Fat carries flavor. Fat creates texture. Fat makes food feel satisfying. Without it, the product tastes like paper and cardboard, and nobody buys it twice. So fat is replaced, almost universally, with sugar, modified starches, artificial thickeners, and flavor enhancers. The result is a food that is lower in fat, but dramatically higher in ingredients that, for aging cardiovascular systems, are considerably more dangerous than the natural fat that was removed. Fat-free salad dressing, for example, typically contains 2 to 3 times the added sugar of its full-fat counterpart, along with chemical emulsifiers that recent research suggests may alter the gut microbiome in ways that increase systemic inflammation. Your gut and your heart are in constant communication. There is a reason cardiologists are increasingly paying attention to gut health as a direct cardiac variable. When you disrupt one, you destabilize the other. The biology behind this is fascinating, and I promise to make it simple. Your gut lining, when exposed to chronic, low-grade disruption from emulsifiers and artificial starches, begins producing inflammatory signals that travel directly through the bloodstream and land in your coronary arteries. This is not a theoretical risk. This is happening in bodies every single day, inside kitchens where the label says "Heart Healthy" in bright green letters. There was a study that started with a simple question nobody thought to ask before. What happens to people over 65 when they switch from moderate-fat whole foods to low-fat processed alternatives and track their cardiovascular outcomes over 3 years? The results unsettled quite a few assumptions. The group consuming full-fat, minimally processed foods showed more favorable markers for arterial health, lower inflammatory indicators, and better cholesterol ratios. Not just total cholesterol numbers, but the HDL to LDL ratio that actually tells you something meaningful. The low-fat group showed the opposite. Now this brings me to the fourth food, and this one is the reason I decided to make this video in the first place. It is the one that surprised me most during my own professional evolution, and it is the one I see causing real harm in real people every single time I sit down in a consultation room. Fruit juice, specifically 100% pure, no added sugar fruit juice, is perhaps the most perfectly disguised cardiovascular risk factor for people over 70 that exists in the modern food supply. I am not talking about juice cocktails or fruit drinks. I am talking about the bottle in your refrigerator right now that says 100% natural and lists a single ingredient: orange juice, apple juice, pomegranate juice, even cranberry juice. The fiber that makes whole fruit a genuinely heart-protective food, the fiber that slows sugar absorption, triggers satiety hormones, and feeds beneficial gut bacteria, is entirely absent from juice. What remains is a concentrated delivery system for fructose that hits a 70-year-old's liver like a freight train. The liver at 70 processes fructose more slowly, and excess fructose is converted to triglycerides, blood fats that are, in elevated quantities, a significant independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Health experts estimate that one 8-ounce glass of orange juice delivers nearly the same glycemic impact as a can of soda in an older adult's metabolic system. That is a staggering comparison for something sold in the produce aisle. Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Picture yourself at your own kitchen table on a Sunday morning. Glass of orange juice, bowl of low-fat yogurt, a packet of flavored oatmeal, a slice of toast spread with a plant-based margarine labeled with a heart symbol. Every single item at that table was chosen with love and care. Every single one carries some form of health endorsement. And yet, for someone over 70, that particular breakfast may be one of the most cardiovascular, stressful meals possible, delivering oxidized fats, a double hit of glycemic load, disrupted gut signaling, and a fructose surge, all before 9 in the morning. I am not sharing this to frighten you. I genuinely am not. I am sharing it because the alternative, the genuinely heart-protective breakfast for a person at your life stage, is not a punishment. It is delicious. It is satisfying. And it is built on foods that your body at 70 actually knows how to use. 2 scrambled eggs cooked in a small amount of real extra virgin olive oil. A handful of fresh berries, whole, not juiced, which deliver fiber, antioxidants, and a slow, gentle glucose curve that aging arteries respond to beautifully. A cup of plain steel-cut oats with a small amount of raw honey and walnuts, which provide genuine omega-3 fatty acids in a form that an aging cardiovascular system absorbs well. And water, or unsweetened green tea, which carries compounds that have shown consistent, favorable effects on arterial elasticity in older adults. This is not deprivation. This is understanding. And understanding at 70 is the single most powerful cardiac tool available to you. I want to say something here, and I mean it with the full weight of everything I have described in this video. You are not a passive passenger in your own health. The foods you choose tomorrow morning, when you open that refrigerator, when you stand in that grocery store aisle, are not small decisions. They are not trivial. For someone at your stage of life, they are some of the most consequential choices available to you. Choices that ripple forward into energy, into clarity, into the way your heart beats at 2 in the morning when the house is quiet and you are simply resting. I want you to walk away from this with something concrete. So here it is, as clearly as I can say it. Stop trusting the label and start trusting the ingredient list. If a food has been processed, modified, reduced, or reformulated to sound healthier, it has almost certainly been changed in a way that benefits the manufacturer's bottom line before it benefits your coronary arteries. Whole eggs from a farmer you trust are more heart protective than any margarine. A bowl of plain oats cooked slowly is more protective than any flavored pouch. Full-fat plain Greek yogurt is more protective than its fat-free counterpart. A whole orange, eaten, not squeezed, is more protective than a glass of its juice. These are not radical ideas. They are, in many ways, a return to something older and wiser than the modern food industry. I am curious. Drop a 1 in the comments if any of these 4 foods surprised you, and a 2 if you already had a feeling something was off about them. I read every single one. And please, if someone you love is over 70 and still reaching for that margarine or that morning glass of juice, Dr. Albert Winslow is asking you, as directly as I know how, to share this with them today. Because the difference between what the label says and what your body at 70 actually needs is not a small gap. For some people, it is everything.